Hare Krishna. Welcome again to our evening katha. We hope you're all safe and sound and taking this extraordinary time to increase your sadhana, your hearing and chanting. Even we saw on ISKCON News, devotees are figuring out novel ways to distribute books. Because now practically book distribution has come to an end, but they're calling all of their contacts that they've collected over the years and selling books over the phone. Ram Roy has moved to Prabhupada village with all his men. They're selling books over the phone. Many places. So everybody's finding some novel way to continue the Sankirtan movement of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So today we're going to go to Talvan. We're sitting here in the conference room on the first floor of the Krishna Balaram guest house. It's quite hot out today, so we're afraid the camera will overheat as it's done in the past. And today we'll do a nice kirtan, but it's a simple Brisbasi melody, one of my favorites. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prastaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Iti Namine Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prastaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Iti Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Sunyavadi Paschacharizitarine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvichesha Shunyavadi Paschacharizitarine Jaya Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaur Bhaktavrinda Jaya Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaur Bhaktavrinda. Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Gora Hari Bol, Nitai Gora Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Gora Hari Bol. Jai Jai Prabhupada, Prabhupada, Srila Prabhupada. Jai Jai Prabhupada, Prabhupada, Jai Prabhupada. Tai Go Premanande, Hari Hari Bo. So again, we welcome you all to our evening katha. I hope you realize now we've shifted to 6 o'clock. So you'll all come here at 6 o'clock and be ready. And today we're going to Talvan. Because Talvan is not far from Madhuvan. A couple of weeks ago we went to Madhuvan. And we heard that Madhuvan is famous in all the 4 yugas. We heard about Dhruva and Ambarish Maharaj in Satyug. We heard about Satrughan, the younger brother of Lord Ram, in Tretayug. We didn't hear about Dwapar. But after we leave Dhruv Tila and we come inside the village, there's a beautiful kund called Krishna Kund, where Krishna and the cowherd boys used to swim and have water sports. And just beside that kund, there's a beautiful temple of Lord Balaram, Dauji. Bolo Sri Dauji Maharaj Ki Jai, which my dear friend Avadut Prabhu is remodeling, restoring completely, redoing the whole temple. Very beautiful. Lord Balaram is there along with Revati and Rohini. And we were singing the other day, Madhuvaname Rasa Rachaya. So this is one of the places in springtime where Krishna does his rasa dance. So that's Dwapar Yuga. And Kali Yuga, Chaitanya Charitamrita describes that after Mathura, the first place that Mahaprabhu went was to Madhuvan. And just across the street from Krishna Kund, as evidence of his being there, we find the Madhuvan Gaudiya Mat. And Mahaprabhu visited all the different forests of Vrindavan during his trip there. So from Madhuvan, usually we have to go on the bus and go way around out to the main highway, Agra Highway, then catch the Jaipur Highway, and then we come gradually to Talvan. But it's not such a long walk. It's about 40-minute walk through the green fields. So we go through the green fields. It's so ecstatic. There's huge old peepal trees in the fields, and there's so many leaves. Even we hear the kirtan echoing from the trees. I don't know if you ever heard kirtans echo from trees, but we've heard it. And sometimes we're fortunate enough, especially in Kartik time, we go through a forest, a field of sesame flowers. Because the Goswamis, sometimes they describe Srimati Radharani's nose just like as beautiful as a sesame flower. The first time I walked through that field, I picked one of the flowers and looked at it. Looking at it like this, it didn't at all look like a nose, just that it was very light color like Srimati Radharani's nose. But the next year I noticed the flower just hanging on the bush. And you see one petal comes down and just boop, turns up at the end. And then 2 petals on the other side turn and go boop, like that, just like a beautiful nose. So our Goswamis describe Radharani's nose just as beautiful as a sesame flower. So we walk with kirtan along this long path, maybe 40-minute walk, and we come finally to Talvan. Talvan is named after tal trees. Although in Talvan there's only about 2 or 3 trees left, maybe 4 at most. There's 2 in the front of the temple courtyard. And actually there's 3. There's 2, one small one and one tall one growing together. And then behind the temple there's a tall tree, but it used to be a forest of tall trees. And it's described in the scripture that Talvan is just between Mathura and Govardhan. So the Kaur boys that particular day, they were playing just near Govardhan, and they came towards Talvan. And Govardhan is on the western side. And they were, after playing for so long, they became a little hungry. And the cool breeze was blowing from Talvan, carrying the fruits of the tall trees. So they must have been on the western side. I speculated that because after living in Braj for so long, I found that in the summertime, just like now, the wind is blowing out of the west. The Lu, we call it, dry wind off the Rajasthan desert. So like last night we went up to chant on the roof of the guest house, and a huge black cloud was there blowing in from the west with a dust storm. But tal fruits ripen in the rainy season. The rainy season, the breeze blows from the east. So for the Kaur boys to smell it, they must have been on the western side. And now somebody has translated the Sarartha Darshani Tika of Srila Biswanath Chakravarti Thakur of Srimad Bhagavatam. And in this connection, Biswanath Chakravarti Thakur says the tall fruits ripen in the rainy season, and that the Kaur boys smelled them meant that they were on the western side. So my speculation was right. So they called out to Krishna and Balaram. Actually, they called out to Balaram first. Rama Rama Mahabaho Krishna Dusta Nibarana. Oh, Rama with the heavy arms, strong arms. Rama Rama Mahabaho Krishna Dusta Nibarana. Oh, eliminator of the rascals. Why they called out to Balaram first, we'll hear in a little while. So they began to say, we're very hungry and there's all these tal fruits there in Talvan, but nobody can go there because this forest is protected by an asura called Dhenukasura, who was in the form of a donkey, jackass. And he was protecting that forest with all his ass-like friends. And they collected all of those tal fruits and sent them to Mathura, to King Kams. And they never let any devotee, any Brijbasi, any Vaishnava ever touch those fruits. Whatever was left over, they enjoyed themselves. So they called out to Lord Balaram, and Krishna winked also at Lord Balaram, because there's an interesting history behind this Dhenukasura. He was a son of Bali Maharaj, named Sahasak. And one time Sahasak, he went to the Nandankanan forest, mountain of the demigods, and he took a beautiful apsara named Tilotama with him. Just so happened in that same forest, Durvasa Rishi, our famous Rishi, was doing his sadhana. And he was disturbed by their rascal activities in the forest, we can imagine. So he came there and said, "You're enjoying just like an ass, therefore you will become an ass." And Sasak fell at his feet. He said, "Yes, you will become an ass for 4 lakh of years. But in the end, Lord Balaram will come and free you from this curse." So that's one reason. Other reason is that it's not in Bhagavatam, but in other Purana describes that one of the benedictions that our Prahlad Maharaj took from Lord Nrsingadev is, "You won't kill anybody in my dynasty." So Bali Maharaj is a descendant of Prahlad Maharaj. So Krishna can't kill him. That's why he winked at Balaram, and the cowherd boys, they asked Balaram first. So Balaram, he went inside, and with his strong arms, he grabbed one tall tree, and he began to shake it. Now I've tried, I can't even move it even a millimeter. But Dauji, he just took it and he began to shake it with his hand like that. And all the tall fruits were falling down. Thud, 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 thud. So you've seen asas, they have big ears. So Dhenukasura, he heard somebody stealing my tal fruits. And he came there, he saw Lord Balaram standing there, and he charged up to him and began to kick on his chest. But Balaram's chest is stronger than a thunderbolt. He felt it just like somebody throwing flowers at his chest. Then Dhenukasura, he ran away and he began to chant his glories. Prabhupada said the ass thinks he's a great poet, and he sings his poetry for everyone to appreciate. Then he came back, and again he put his back to Lord Balaram. Now we never want to do this. We never want to put our back to the Lord. That's very improper. Now when he put his back to Lord Balaram, began to kick on his chest. And Lord Balaram grabbed those hind feet. He swung him around and around and around and around and around and threw him into the top of a tall tree. That tall tree fell over, hit another one. That one hit the next one. That one hit the next one. And just like a set of dominoes, ping, 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 all the tall trees came falling down. So then all the ass-like demon friends of Dhenukasura, they all came and they attacked first Krishna, then Balaram. And very clearly Bhagavatam says, Krishnascha Ramascha. Now it could be that they were afraid of Balaram because they'd just seen what he'd done, so they thought, let us attack the younger brother. Or maybe out of affection, Krishna entered in between. So first they attacked Krishna, then they attacked Balaram, and they were just throwing those demons into the top of the tall trees, one after another, one after another, one after another. And it looked after a while that so many, because some of them are light colored, some of them are dark colored, different colored clouds were there in the trees. So they finished off all the ass demons. Now, it was a big mess. So that day they didn't enjoy tal fruits. But since this is rainy season, the rains came. Who enjoyed those fruits were the Pulindas, the tribal girls who were living in the forest. They washed them off and ate them. But later, after a few days of rain and rain and rain, the place was clean, and the Brishvasis began again to come there and enjoy tal fruits to their full satisfaction. And suddenly Kamsa realized that no tal fruits are coming. Now tal fruits, they're like barrel-shaped egg, they look like barrel-shaped eggplants, and they're unripe. There's like a stem coming from the tree, and all around, boom, 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 like this. All these tal fruits are there, and they look like barrel-shaped eggplants, very dark violet like an eggplant. But gradually as they ripen, they turn very bright orange with little purplish highlights. Purplish highlights. And they're very stringy, so the best way to enjoy them is you make juice. You cut them, and they're almost like mangoes, but much sweeter, much nicer. And but they're very stringy, so you make juice. In fact, one time we came to Talvan with a group of devotees, and that time my friend Priyasaran was the mahant there, and there was 2 or 3 tal fruits left in the trees. It was just the end of the rainy season. So immediately he sent his disciples up to get there, and he squeezed them all up and made tal juice and began to hand it out to distribute it to all the devotees. And they were pouring out their bish lahari. Lahari means waves, and bish means poison. They were pouring out their bish lahari and filling it up with tal juice, and everybody was enjoying it. Tal juice. So, this demon, Bhaktivinoda explains, he represents the foolish materialistic mentality and ignorance of the eternality of the soul and the eternality of the Lord and His name. So this is Guru's business, to destroy our ignorance. So therefore he's destroyed by Balaram, because Balaram is the Adi Guru. He's the original Guru. So this demon is killed by, another reason he has to be killed by Balaram, because that is the Guru's business, to destroy our ignorance. Especially we have this ass-like mentality of work hard and enjoy hard. This is the motto of the Americans: work hard and enjoy hard. Now they're all upset because they can't go out and enjoy hard, so they're protesting. But and so the ass, he's the symbol of this foolish mentality. Because we come to India, we get to see these things. We read about them in Prabhupada's books, and we read about all these things. But we can come to India, we can see these things before our eyes. Most places we never even see donkeys, what to speak of see them carrying loads. But here we see they have big loads of sand or bricks or bags of cement or big piles of laundry, and they're walking along the path, and at the end of the day the owner gives them a little grass. All day long they were walking along the path, on both sides of the path was grass, but they're so foolish, they're thinking, if we don't work hard like this, how are we going to enjoy grass? Just like one time there were some merchants going through the forest, and some robbers came. So immediately they surrendered everything to the robbers, and the robbers just beat them like anything. I said, "Hey, we surrendered all our wealth to you. Why did you beat us? Hey, without doing some work, how are we going to digest?" So the ash is so foolish like that. In fact, because now we're in the month of Vaisak and it's become very, very hot, and everybody else is suffering, but the ass, he becomes very happy in Vaisak. Therefore, the ass's another name is Vaisak Nandan. Because what happens, since it's very hot, there's not much grass growing, it's all very dry. So the ass, he finds a little clump of grass here, he finds a little clump of grass there, he goes ahead, finds another one. He walks for kilometers and kilometers, trying to fill his belly. He hardly got anything to eat. But he looks back, he says, "My goodness, I walked so far, I must have eaten so much." And he becomes very happy. And we see happy people, they become a little fatty. So everyone else is suffering, but the ass is enjoying like anything. He's very healthy in Vaisak. Then rainy season comes, there's grass everywhere. And the ass is there eating and 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 eating. And it's never ending. And he looks back and he says, "My God, I didn't go anywhere. I didn't eat anything today." And he gets worried. And we see worried people, that ruins the digestion. Everybody's worried these days about stress, So he becomes very sickly. Everyone else is happy in the rainy season, but the ass becomes very sickly. So this is this foolish ass-like mentality, and that's the Guru's business, to get all of our anarts. And one of those anarts is this ignorance of the eternality of the soul and the eternality of Krishna and His holy name. So this is the duty of Guru. Guru is not a pet, that everybody's got a Guru, I also have a Guru. No, sadhu means, Prabhupada explains, sadhu means knife. He's to cut out this ignorant mentality, this foolish materialistic mentality from our hearts. Just like, so we don't want to keep him just like a pet. Just like one time we went to Karoli with the Sevite of Madan Mohan Temple, Sanatan Kishore Dev Goswami. And we were going along in the bus, and there was one young boy sitting next to us on the bus. So he started telling us, yes, I came to Vrindavan, my guru is there. He smiles at me, he pats me on the head, he gives me sweets. So Sanatana Dev Goswami said, did you ask any question? And I said, no. He said, what is the use of going to see Guru if you don't ask questions? Guru means paramarth, to ask about the goal of life. Otherwise, sweet you can buy in the sweet shop. What is the use to go see Guru and get smile and get some sweets? We have to ask the Guru, what is the goal of life and how to achieve it? This is our business. So after Krishna and Balaram killed all the asses, then outside the temple we find a huge lake called Sankarshan Kund. And there they took their bath. And this is an amazing lake. We go outside, and one fellow has fixed up all the ghats there, beautiful ghats are there, and beautiful picture of Lord Balaram killing Dhenukasura, not picture, but diorama. One fellow was there in Mathura named Sriji Baba, and he's done service everywhere in Braj. You can't go one tiny place he hasn't done some service in Braj. And this kund is filled with the most incredible fish. Huge catfish with their big whiskers. Because there's nowadays a devotee taking care of Dauji. First we should describe the temple, I guess, actually. There's a big, tall Dauji and little Kaneya. And then we have Revati. And Revati, she's not actually from Braj Leela, she's from Dwarka Leela. But anyway, some devotee has installed Revati also there. Because we know in Satyug, near Gujarat, in Gujarat, there was one place, I've been there, called Mount Raivat, where Raivat Maharaj lived. And he had a very, very beautiful daughter. Since she was the daughter of Raivat, she was known as Revati. And she became of marriageable age. So Maharaj Raivat was very anxious to find a proper husband for his daughter. So he was making so many interviews, but he was very, very picky. Because the fathers are very attached to the daughters. I have one, I know. He wasn't satisfied with anybody that he interviewed. So, finally, he decided to go discuss with Lord Brahma, because Lord Brahma knows the whole universe, everyone. So he went up to Brahmaloka, taking Revati with him. Now, you know, whenever you go to visit your GBC or your temple president, a big sign on the door, meeting going on, do not disturb. This is our business, eating, sleeping, meeting, and defending. And so he sat there in the waiting room with Revati. And meetings, as we told before, they're events where minutes are kept and hours are lost. So this was a big meeting with all the demigods. So finally, he invited Raivat Maharaj to come inside, and he asked what he wanted, and he began to explain, and Lord Brahma started laughing. He said, not funny. He says, no, all the people you talk about, they have died, their children have died, their children have died, nobody even remembers the names of the people you're talking about. But not to worry, by the time you reach the earth, it will be end of Dwapar Yuga. Because we know Lord Brahma is on a different time. So while they were waiting in the waiting room, eons went on the earth. Just like you remember in the Brahma Vimohan Leela, Brahma went away for a moment, and a whole year, his moment was a whole year, now hours have gone. But not to worry, when you get back to the earth in Dwarka, there's a very handsome fellow named Balaram. He's the perfect match for your daughter Revati. So sure enough, when Maharaj Raivat and Revati returned to the earth and to Dwarka, they saw everybody so short. The trees are small, everything's small, people are very short. So he didn't know, he was a little shocked. And then they went to see Lord Balaram, and they proposed to Lord Balaram, and Balaram, he saw that Revati was very beautiful, but he looked up at her, she's very tall. Now in India we always try to make the marriages even. They should be similar disposition, similar background, similar caste, similar color. Everything should be very evenly matched. Just like one time my pujari in Vrindakun, he got big shock. I have a very dear friend in England named Sri Krishna Chaitanya. And Krishna Chaitanya, he's so black, he makes the nighttime look like daytime. And his wife Jamuna, she's so white, she makes the snow look like coal. And my pujari looked, there a couple who made such a match like that. So Balaram, he looked at this big tall girl, so he took his plow, he pulled her down to size, and then he married her. So Revati is actually Dwarka Leela, but she's very beautiful. Draupadi is there, Revati is there. And our pujari's name is Govindaram. And always I asked him for some pieces of chapati or just some chapati dough. And we go outside and start bling, bling, throwing from the steps into the water. And huge catfish. Suddenly the water just starts boiling. Boiling with catfish. Boiling with catfish. And people are amazed. Everyone immediately runs out and gets their cameras. So this is a very beautiful kund called Sankarshan Kund. Not far from here is a tiny forest called Kamudvan. In Kamudvan, there's a kund. Kamud is named after a lily. We call Kamudini. And there we find a little temple of, a lake called Padma Kund. And if you stir up that water of the lake, the water turns completely black. And all our Brajmanda Prikrama devotees jump in the water, it turns black, we grab that mud and we smear it, we take mud bath. Now in foreign countries you have to pay many hundreds of dollars to do this mud pack and things like that. We here in Braj, all the devotees are completely black, with just their eyes showing and getting it for free. And on the banks of Padma Kund is where Lord Kapil Dev did his austerities. There was a little tiny temple, a little tiny deity of Kapil Dev is there. And now recently, and another nice temple also built by Sriji Maharaj. It's like this small place, but Sriji Maharaj built a nice little temple there for Radha and Krishna. And nearby is the village of Gorai. Actually, this village name was Gaurav, but gradually it became Gorai. And what happened was, we remember all the Brishvasis, they went to Kurukshetra to meet Krishna in Kurukshetra. And Nanda Baba, he pleaded and begged for Krishna to please return. And Krishna told him, yes, I will come. So when Nanda Baba got back to Braj, he said, how am I going to face the Brishvasis? All I brought was another promise. And we've already heard so many promises for Krishna. Yes, I'll come. So rather than go back to Braj, back to Gokul, he stayed on this type of the river. And one landowner very graciously, very proudly, Gaurav means pride, very proudly he gave Nanda Baba a place to stay. The Nanda Baba, he couldn't face the Brishvasis. Then a little further is Datia. Actually the original name is Dantiya, named after Dantavakra. Because although we think Dantavakra is a Dwarka Leela, it's actually a Braj Leela. Because remember in Srimad Bhagavatam that Krishna killed Salva and Shishupal and all of these fellows. So Bhagavatam sometimes lumps all of the pastimes, all the demon pastimes, other pastimes and other pastimes. But actually what happened was after Krishna killed Shishupal and Salva, then Dantavakra was their dear friend, he became furious. And he hadn't heard that Krishna had moved to Dwarka, so he attacked Mathura. And when he couldn't find Krishna in Mathura, he began to just tear up Braj like anything. So Krishna had to return to Braj. And he killed that Dantavakra. And who was that Dantavakra? He was none other than Vijay. Remember Jai and Vijay, they had 3 births as demons. Shishupal was Jai, and Salva was, and Dantavakra was Vijay. Previously they've been Hiranyakashipu and Hiranyaksha. After that they had been Kumbhakarna and can't remember, somebody in Ramlila. So this was their third time actually. But they had so much fun being the Lord's enemy, they decided to come back as Jagai and Madai. But in Lord Chaitanya's Leela, he doesn't kill Jagai and Madai, he kills their evil mentality and made them great devotees, and they took part in the pastimes of Lord Chaitanya. So this village is Datiya. And then, when Krishna returned to kill Dantavakra, then all Nanda Baba and all the Brishbasis came, and they said, Lala, please don't leave us again. Please take us somewhere where no Akrur will come and take you away, no Putana will come, no Trinarvat will come. Please take us to some place. So then Krishna told them, well, Narad Muni taught me one mantra, but you'll have to close your eyes. And so all the Brishbasis closed their eyes, and very mystically, somehow or other, Krishna, he put all the Brishbasis' entire Braj on his chariot. And when they opened their eyes, they were all in Krishna's chariot, and a most mystical thing happened. Krishna divided in two. That Dwarkadish, he went back on the chariot back to Dwarka. And Krishna took all the Brishbasis back to the Golok, where no Akrura will come, no one will, Dantavakra, none of these demons will ever come and bother him. He took all the, that's the very end of Brajlita. Krishna took everyone back to Golok. Therefore, when Vajranav came, it began to establish deities and temples. There was no one around. The trees and birds and bees and animals, everything was there, but there was no people around. And gradually all the places, that's why all the holy places gradually got lost, because all the Brishbasis went back to Golok from this time. So this is a very special place called Datiya. So the cowherd boys, I forgot one thing, is after the cowherd boys, after they left the Talvan forest, they all returned home. And when their mothers heard nectar devotion described, the mothers became very upset. That why did you take Krishna to a dangerous place? You knew Dhenukasura was living there. Why did you take him? They all scolded their sons out of immense love. And then they fed them milk from their breasts and put them to sleep. So we'll put our voice to rest here. And we pray that you're all remaining safe and sound and increasing your bhajan. This is a very difficult time. Somehow or other we're taking advantage of it. We'll see you again tomorrow at 6 o'clock.
Somebody commented that in Ramlila there were Ravana and Kumbhakarna.
Ravana was Jai and Kumbhakarna. Yes, Ravana was Jai. So how many people are there today?
134 right now.
134. So we thank you all for coming. We'll see you again tomorrow. Hare Krishna.